What's going on, everybody? It's actually Friday morning, not Thursday. I normally film these rundowns on Thursday and then get them uploaded and hopefully get them to you by Thursday night or by Friday. But yesterday was a really long day. I didn't even get home till almost dark, and so exhausted, ate some dinner, fell asleep on the couch. And today actually canceled, so it worked out conveniently that I could just get some rest and wake up and have a little coffee in my Lake Baccarat mug and give you guys a report today. So, public report for basically the first, it would, if I filmed it yesterday, it would have been the 1st of June. Lake is dropping again. We literally went up about, almost an inch, and then we literally dropped it within 2 days. That basically to me means they pulled some water from municipal around these surrounding counties. These surrounding counties have grown huge in the last 8-9 years, and we use the water a lot more than we used to. So we really we don't have much stable time in Lake Fork anymore. It used to have a lot more stability, and it's constantly either on the fall or on the rise. And the one most important thing, the reason that I like to follow this, I want to know the lake levels due to the danger and the stumps and the things like that, how I run it, where I don't run. But rising and falling effects are huge. They're just huge. Rising water rises the fish, pulls them up onto the shores, pulls them up onto structure, pulls them into the pockets. Rising water rises fish. Falling water points them out. And so by understanding this, you can really have a target of where you should expect to see and find your groups of fish. With that being said, the water's falling, so we're back to fishing, points and things like this, secondary points, channel swings, the edges. If you had fish last weekend that were up on something, they'll be now off the edges. If they were up on tree lines or up on whatever, they'll be off on the edges as that water drops. Also finding areas that have shallow water next to deep water, close to deep water proximity, help a lot, because the real shallow places have huge effects when the water drops, and where you have deeper, steeper things, they don't. So for example, in Arizona, we've got a lot of irrigation water, so they can drop a lake 1 foot overnight. And if you have, a big shallow flat, that 1 foot changes that flat tremendously. If you go up against the sheer canyon walls, you're only talking about an inch or less. And so the variations of what you're going to look for as the water rises and falls is different. So that's the reason I really point that out. So we're back to falling. Clarity's good. Temperatures are finally catching up. I noticed as we dropped back down that the brim had come in to spawn and the brim beds were empty. As we cooled back down, just like the largemouth, move into spawn, get too chilled, pull back. Now that we're back up above 78, the brim beds are really starting to load up again, and that's becoming the bite. So things like crankbaits, squarebills, spinnerbaits, chatterbaits around brim beds, big worms, Texas rig style, Cincos around brim bed areas. That's really becoming a decent bite. You have to use your side scan. You have to go out and find those brim beds. As far as the backwater shallow bite, as it gets hot, that's getting less and less. And I don't fish for little fish. So when I feel that there's no big fish opportunities, I'm going to change. Right now, I could go through the shallow backwaters with a fluke or a Cinco or a small creature bait, a small Texas rig, trick worm, wacky worm, and probably catch quite a few 1 to 2 pound fish. If you're a tournament angler, that might be where you want to be. But the odds of catching 5 giant fish back in 2 or 3, 4 feet of water in the back of a creek or the back of a pocket are slim, unless I find vegetation. And when I say vegetation, I mean aquatic vegetation, hydrilla, coontail, lily pad fields, things like this. That grow in the water, maybe a little bit of your alligator, potato grass, whatever you want to call that, frogweed, frog grass. But you got to have some vegetation. There is very little of that on Fork. Very little of it. There is some places that are starting to grow hydrilla. There's some places that's growing some of the green and some of the coontail and some really cool um, frogweed and different things like that. Potato grass, alligator weed. And those areas are holding a handful of fish. But again, it's on 315 miles of shoreline. Good luck finding it. You're going to spend your time doing it. And those areas are fished quite a bit by guys that know how to find it and guys that like to fish like that. Me personally, it's offshore. That's where I'm leading you to. It is definitely time to get offshore. Deep crankbaits, spoons, and big worms and jigs. That's really the key. The fish are roaming, the fish are schooling, and really moving quite a bit. Not necessarily moving, leaving areas, but they're not locking up on structure. That's another good tip here publicly. I want to help you. So if you do have forward imaging that will help you follow those fish or see what those fish are doing, following baits a lot and not eating them a lot. So I think that hindsight, I think that the forward imaging era is probably one of the most damaging eras that we've ever had with any of the inventions to make fishing become even tougher. The fish know frequencies. They do understand that after a while. Fish are survivalists, just like deer. They don't really have a memory, but they learn, and they learn bad results and survival skills. And even Josh Jones himself said it. He said when he first was hitting these big fish in OHIV with this forward imaging, he could get 30 feet within those fish before they would move off. And now it's 70 feet. And so where I'm gleaning is what we're done is we've had inventions that are phenomenal. Live scoping is phenomenal, but we are little by little conditioning these fish to push farther and farther away from us, from the boats, from our casting abilities. And it's making it even tougher to catch these bigger mature fish. So where I'm leading you is that once you get in an area and you find some fish, turn some stuff off. Turn your sonars off. Try the old school ways, fish stealth. Maybe even turn your trolling motor off. In the old days, before we had spot lock, tied to tree stumps and fish the area accordingly, and let those fish settle down. So they're not hearing sonars, they're not hearing the trolling motors, but they're getting very savvy to it. And even Mark Pack, before he passed away, I can remember, long before he passed away, in 2010, Mark Pack started teaching me about this lake. And that was 13, 14 years ago. And he used to say that some of the biggest fish won't let the boat get close to them. And you need to be able to cast a long ways. So when you know you've got a tree or a stump that holds a big one, shut down way out and ease your way in and make long casts. That is really important. That was 13 years ago that he was telling me that. The pressure has increased. Our equipment again has increased. And I just think we get more and more conditioned. I don't know what's next in the industry. I have a feeling that what's next in the industry is going to be going back to the old school ways and being more stealth and being like Rick Clunn did it, 40 years ago without sonars, intuitions and trial and error and really hunting them down that way. I'd almost wish it would go that way because, again, I truly believe the more that we put the education and the forward imaging in everyone's hands, not just the pros' hands, not just guides, but once the public, everybody seems to have it and knows how to use it, catching big fish is going to get tougher and tougher and tougher. The other thing I'm going to lead you to is this season has been really weird, not just here in Texas, in Northeast Texas, but all over the country. Right now, for example, in Sabine River, they're not breaking 10 pounds. A majority of the pros and the BAS Elite have 5 fish for 7 pounds, 5 fish for 9 pounds. 14 pounds is leading it with a 5-pound kicker. I had a client yesterday that was from Mexico City, way down in Mexico. And Mexico fish is incredible. Bacarac, El Salto. I've been to Bacarac 12 times. Never had a bad trip there. No pressure, no fishing. A huge lake, 20 boats a day, that's it. 40 boats, I think, max. Even down in Mexico City, in those lakes, they're fishing off everything. And here's the pros. All the lakes, Chickamauga, everywhere that they've gone has fished off. It's an off year. And I don't know why. Mother Nature is very cool, very unique. We didn't make it. God did. But it's definitely a weird year. And without that, I'm just kind of blobbing here. But keeping in mind water temperatures are what's different. All of this is about the same. The water temperatures are what have been way behind. And we've had not a heavy winter, but a much longer, cooler. It's June 2nd, and this morning my pond has fog rising off it. That means it's cooling in June. Cool trending in June. I've never seen that. I've lived here for 10 years, and my pond's never done that in June. Is it a good thing? I'm not sure. For the way I like to fish, no. I want it hot. I want them offshore. I want them to get down the bottom. I want them to get down in the shell beds. I want to get down and look for cool water, for hard bottom areas that are cool. And right now, again, back to giving you some information, they're suspending. All right, so keep that in mind when you're going fishing. I don't have anything really else to tell you. A little bit of top water still in the morning. If you're in the right spot, had a few bites the other day that were some big fish. And that's it. I really thank you guys for all the comments. We talked about PFDs, wearing your PFD or not, and there was a lot of comments. There was quite a few good comments, and people had the right things to say. And I believe everybody knows that you're ignorant if you're not wearing your PFD. And God forbid, it's the last thing we need is to have something happen to anyone for the sake of bad things. They just don't want that to happen. But if it to happen on Lake Fork under a guiding situation, and somebody went in the water without live vests, that was with a guide, I can't fathom how much that would really hurt the whole surrounding community, everybody. So I wish some of these guys would wake up, grow up, quit acting like high school children at the playground, that I beat you to the swing set and you can't swing in the swing next to me. My friend can, but you can't. I garden the swing set here. And then that's an analogy of what really is happening. But anyways, let's not go there. Hit the like button if you found this good. Comment below. Remember that things like flutter spoons, Lake Fork Trophy Lures has a lot of really good plastics that we use offshore. The Hyper Stick on a Carolina rig, the Creature Baits on a Carolina rig, trailers for jigs like the Flipper. There's a lot of great stuff there. And so if you go to Lake Fork Trophy Lures, use my code MCF 10. I'm going to give you a little discount. We're releasing some new colors right now. A really cool color that's come out, which isn't a new color in the industry, but it's a completely new color to Lake Fork Trophy Lures. And that's California 420. Very effective color. Our crawfish in the summer get black and red. Dark green pumpkin and red. A lot of the red comes in. So that color is awesome. But check that out, because the proto sampling now and the fishing with it is already producing some great fish. So Lake Fork Trophy Lures, code MCF, the first three letters on the last name, 10. And get you some of that stuff. Again, comment below. If you have any questions, put them below. If you want to be a member, look in the description of this video below. It's in writing. And below the video, without clicking on the video, you'll see it'll say description. Click on that and look at the description, and there's a link. There's a link to become a regular member, and there's a link to become a Let's Talk Fishing member. Let's Talk Fishing members is much more advanced. You get a lot more things. You get a lesson. You get a chance to win a once-a-month care package. But the members only channel is upgraded from what report I give you here publicly. You really want to check that out. It really is in much more detail, and I pinpoint areas that you should be spending your time on to eliminate you having to search 27,000 surface acres. So consider becoming a members only rundown. And then one last thing is I'm going to give you some quick added reports. I'm going to fatten up this public a little bit. Crappie, still awesome. They're on the pylons now, which is really cool. The bridge pylons. Here's why. It gets really hot here in June, and there's nothing better than being able to fish in the shade. So if you're a crappie fisherman, start hitting the bridge pylons, the 514, the 515, the 154. Those bridge pylons, 2946, they are holding crappie. The girders is where they are. And a lot of times, here's a tip that I learned from one of the best crappie guides out here, Mr. Jackie Wiggins. Don't get on top of it. You actually got to cast to them and bring it by them. Crappie like to chase, Jackie said. You don't want to get on top of them. You can catch them that way, but you'll catch them better if you learn how to flip it past them and bring it by them. Make them chase it. So that's straight from Jackie. But the crappie are also in brush piles, 18 to 28 feet. Jackie fills his limits every day. Doesn't matter if he has 4 fishermen. It doesn't matter. And he does doubles. He's bringing in more than 100 fish every single day. Every day he fills limits. I've never seen him not. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. In fact, 2 weeks ago, he had 5 fishermen and filled 125 fish in a half-day trip. That's a lot of fish. That's a lot of cleaning. Catfish, same thing. If you really do want to catfish, charm the water. Go to the feed store and get you a bag of sour maize. Go out, pick a tree that you have somewhere to tie to, or a creek swing that you like to lock your trolling motor on. Pour the 5 pounds of that sour maize in that area. And you can come back in a few hours and it's probably going to be good. Come back the next day and you won't believe the swarm of channel catfish that are on it. You just won't. And if you want to fill your freezer, or you just want to take your grandson or your granddaughter and have a blast and catch more fish than you've ever seen in your life, try that. It's a no-brainer. You don't have to have any specific spot. Maybe pick a spot out of the path of traffic and everyone else, but you can literally blindfold yourself and pick a spot and drop that sour maize and come back 24 hours later and just lights out. It's crazy. So best baits when you're doing that too, by the way. Don't spend high money on night crawlers and all that. Just get you a tub of like Stubby's catfish bait, dough bait, something like that. Something that goes a long ways. A little treble hook that it'll stay on, ball it up on. Even chicken liver is pretty cheap from the grocery store. I wouldn't feed them the worms. Worms, night crawlers can get expensive, but you can literally just use some of that, Stubby's catfish bait or dough bait. Tub bait they call it, and that works really good. All right, thank you again. I appreciate you watching another public rundown with Mike McFarland, the Lake Fork Guide.